Going live. Gonna wait a second. There's a little bit of delay. Hope everybody's doing okay. Okay. All right. So hello everybody, my name is Ryan Beltran with Elecqua and the Make Water program. I hope everybody's staying safe, practicing social distancing and such. I am going to sort of go over what we do here at Make Water and Elecqua, the nonprofit. First, I want to thank some collaborators. I want to thank San Antonio Water Systems. I want to thank Bibliotech. I want to thank A&M, Texas Water Foundation, San Antonio River Foundation, and IDRA.org, some of our collaborators and partners. So today we're going to do a workshop. We're going to go through the coagulator kit and show you how it works. And we have some special guests. We have Kristi Pierce from Water Conservation, is a Water Conservation Education Coordinator over at Harris Galveston Subsidence District. And we have Ravi Brahmbhatt, who is a Director of Student Innovation and Entrepreneurship out in Houston, at Houston Community College. He is going to explain how they are actually working right now to put together equipment for medical staff in need through 3D printing and crowdsourcing, so that's going to be neat. Just know that this live stream has a little bit of a delay, so if you ask questions in the chat, it might take a little bit for it to come around for me to read them, and I'll try to get to some of those at the end. So without further ado, let's just get right to it. Hello everybody, so this is the coagulator kit here. First we're just going to kind of do an unboxing of the kit to show you what comes in it. We call this a coagulator kit, and these are what students, educators, and citizen scientists sort of put together to test water and water purification with the electro-coagulation process. What I usually do in a workshop, because this is sort of a virtual workshop, is I just get right to it and have people put this together so it can start the actual purification process while we discuss other things. So, I'm going to switch this over, give you a view of the top here. Let's see. Alright, so here's the kit. And I have to thank an organization or a business called Well Told. They actually designed this enclosure here, this packaging, because it actually helps in shipping with these kits. They donated a bunch of these to us because we want to start using these to ship the kits and actually start adding information on it, like instructions and stuff. So it's a blank canvas right now. But I want to say thank you to Well Told. So okay, let's do an unboxing of the coagulator kit. So unscrew the top. Pretty much everything in this kit has some sort of use. So there's the lid, but it also comes apart. Let's take that apart. Do the packaging. And you're going to get a USB power adapter. You're going to get some instructions here on the parts that come in the kit, and just some contact info, some pictures, a little bit of safety info down at the bottom. We're going to get some little coffee filters that we use to filter the process, or all the coagulates at the very end. Let's see. You're gonna get salt. There's some salt packets in here. Let's see. Also gonna get acrylic paint. See if that stays. Gonna get 2 aluminum electrodes, a USB cable, a coagulator 3D printed lid that fits on the mason jar there. There's the rest of that. Nice and tidy there. There's a mason jar. And then here we have the sort of heart of the whole thing, and it's an Arduino board with the Arduino shield on top with some alligator clips that clip to the electrodes here, and you're going to see how it all works here in a second. So that is everything that you get in a kit. Let's actually put this together. So let's actually put this all together and get it running. What you're going to need is an extra cup of water, and you're going to want to fill, I'm just pouring one mason jar to another, but we want to fill this with water up to about this level right here where it starts to curve in the mason jar. It's going to be handy to have some paper towels too in case you spill a little water here and there. More. Okay, and the first thing you're going to want to do is, let's see, put some acrylic paint in the water. You do about 3 generous drops, I guess. Although this doesn't really do drops, it's like just little streams. Okay, we'll try that for now. And 3 packets of salt. And usually you'd be doing this along with us if we were at a IRL workshop. And if you are an educator who actually has a kit, you can, do this along with us as well. Pause this, rewind it, etc. Okay. So it's 3 things of salt. And what that does is actually add conductivity to speed up the process. Salt isn't necessarily required, but we use it just for these initial purposes of running the kit. You're going to close the lid on top real tight, and then you're going to shake it until it gets really, really dark. And if it's not dark enough, you're going to add a little more paint. But you really want to break up all the little pieces of acrylic so there's none left in there. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty good. Move some of this out of the way. And then what you're going to do, for our purposes, you can also use a USB power bank, like what you'd have for a cell phone. The kit doesn't come with that. Oh, you can hear eating in the background. So what I like to use at workshops is just a simple power bank to provide the power. It doesn't really use that much energy. And you don't have to go find a wall outlet, but the ones that go to your house or the ones that you order have this wall outlet adapter. So what you're going to do is take off the lid. You're going to get the 3D printed lid that we have here, designed by participants and students. It's evolved over time. You're going to get the Arduino with the alligator clips. You're going to get the aluminum electrodes. You're going to clip one on each, just at the very end. And then you're going to put them, here maybe I can. You're going to put them in the closest slots together, right in the center there. It's right there. There you go. And then I'll put some of this away to the side for now. Don't need those filters yet. Don't need all this salt anymore. Just gonna clean up our little work area here. Now you're going to plug the USB into the Arduino, and then you're going to plug the battery in here, and you're going to see that there's a green light turning on here. And that's pretty much it. That's how you get the coagulator running. That's how you get it running. And some things that you'd like to look for are bubbles coming at the electrodes. This is basically electrolysis, so it's creating a little bit of oxygen and hydrogen at each electrode. All the kit is doing right now is sending a current of electricity through, and then every 20 seconds it swaps polarity, and what this does is kind of help decrease buildup on the electrode so the process can go more efficiently. But we'll get more into how the kit works here in a second. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to take this and see if we can get closer and watch it over time. Let's see if we can have it in the background. Okay. See how that looks. So you can kind of see, so we can let it do its thing in the background. A little light here. Yeah. Maybe that works. It actually doesn't look like I put a lot of acrylic paint in there. I should have put more, but you'll get the idea. Okay. So we're gonna leave that going. Let's see. And let's see what's next. All right. So I'm just going to make some adjustments here with the monitor. Everybody's doing all right. Let's see. I'm going to. Let's see. I'm going to bring up our slideshow to kind of go over what we do, what Make Water is. Okay, we got the kit running over there, and we got our slideshow going. So, our tagline sort of is education through water innovation. We think that this technology, this kit, provides a really good vehicle for education of all sorts. That's what I've found out, at least in the years that I've been working with it. I was first excited about the technology, electro-coagulation, and how simple it was and the potential it had to help people around the world. But over time we found that just like I was learning so much about how to put it together, about coding, programming, robotics, hardware, that it was just a fun learning experience as well. So that started taking the forefront, and we started building this out as a nonprofit and educational nonprofit at that. So we believe our water kits serve as a vehicle for multiple forms of education, and it leaves the participants feeling inspired, motivated, and accomplished. We believe by challenging students to innovate our open source water purification kit, you can learn many things, such as a lot of STEAM skills, coding, hardware development. The list just keeps going. This can sort of be applied to a lot of different forms of education, depending on where you're coming from. So, let's see. So what is electro-coagulation? Well, what happens is when you run a current of electricity through these anodes or electrodes, little ions are charged, and from the actual electrodes become charged and go out into the water and look to bond an opposite charge. And when that happens, they do this over and over, and they coagulate. They coagulate with some pollutants. It's really good at arsenic and lead, which can be troublesome in a lot of places around the world, but a lot of other things also. There's a lot of studies about how well it works and how well it doesn't work on some things, but all types of water are just, there's infinite types of water. And so one of the goals we had early on was people would ask, does it work on this, does it work on that? And we found out, well, if there's a want to figure out if it works for that issue, why don't we build it out really economically and simply so that person who has the want or need to try to solve this issue can test it themselves and share their findings with the community. So we sort of crowdsource this investigation and research, because no one entity can test it on every type of water. It can be more put on the responsibility can be put on the everyday person. So we like it because we feel it works smarter, not harder, by actually using the ions one by one and coagulating different pollutants. That you're doing that instead of brute force water purification through like high energy microfiltration or reverse osmosis, which can use a lot of energy and can also dump a lot of water at the same time. I'm not saying that this is for every situation, but it's really an interesting one, and one that can maybe help out in lower to middle income communities. So why is this process so important? I really feel like there's a lot of versatility in it. There's a lot of potential to grow it, but then there's also a lot of potential even just to use it as a vehicle for education, to teach about electrolysis in school, or teach about coding if you want to actually improve the kit. And then also by participating, by actually being part of something bigger and helping evolve something, you can look back and say, hey, I participated in this, I did something. But you also learned something along the way, and you might learn that you're passionate about like coding the Arduino kit or designing a 3D printed lid or something like that for it. So how does a Make Water program work? So we'll get into that. What we usually do is we ask that you form a team, and this can be, you can actually do this as an individual also, but if you're an educator, we usually have them form a team, and we aim for low and middle income youth to kind of participate and have access to this kit and this hardware and this STEM curriculum. Then you get a kit and you put it together. Now what we're doing, this is slides from my regular workshop where I'm out there trying to get kits to people in person, but we're actually coming up with challenges that anybody can do from their home, from just having internet and having a browser, that they can do it right from there. And we're building more and more challenges. I think every live stream we're going to have a few more and more ideas, especially as the input comes in. We'll go more into like some of those at-home challenges. We like to, the kits run about $50, but what we try to do is actually find educators and get kits to be sponsored or donated to them, because we know not educators don't need to buy something else. What we like about these kits is we're trying to keep it low cost, economical for those who do want to go ahead and buy one, but at the same time make them affordable so that any sort of entity that might want to donate a bunch of kits to a bunch of teachers in their area can. For instance, SAWS has our water utility here in San Antonio has actually donated, as they saw that there was a group of teachers that wanted to participate, they donated kits to them. And we want to multiply that in different areas. So then after you have a kit, or at least you understand what we're doing and want to participate, you tackle a challenge. And these challenges can sort of match up with the sort of education you want to teach. The challenges come into 4 different categories, and that's water testing and research, which is straightforward. It's using the kit and seeing how the purification process works and does on different types of water. Beyond that, we currently don't have sensors on it, but as these kits improve, we want to add sensors that can actually get data and readings that can be shared with the community. Number 2 is hardware development. So that's actually like, working on this 3D printed lid here. Students have actually evolved that lid by making improvements to the design of it, both from actually doing 3D design, to actually, even helping with, brainstorming and sending ideas to us as a team and seeing what we can apply to it. So over time, what has happened is that kit lid has actually gone from being really big and thick and used a lot of plastic and a lot more energy to 3D print to being something thinner. It would print faster, use less energy, and use less plastic. So it has evolved in that way. So that's one aspect of hardware development. But then there's also coding and programming, which is more like on the end of like having a computer and tinkering with the code. The code is really simple right now, but we want to make it more robust so that every time the kit is used, maybe the sensors are taking a reading, and that reading is sharing a file with the community that very same day, so that over time, as more and more people use the kit, more types of water and their data and understanding of it is being shared with the community. We're also looking at concepts of like building on an app to use this with a cell phone. And then there's the fourth area, which is creative, which is a little more open-ended. But I like creative because I have a filmmaking background, and I like the idea of storytelling, doing videos, editing video, maybe drawing, doing a piece of art, a song, anything, something creative that maybe we can share with our community through these videos and our live streams. So that's why we made that particular one. So here's some ideas of challenges that we've come up with in the past. So one currently, which hasn't been tackled yet, is can we repurpose aluminum cans and actually cut them up and use them as electrodes instead of the aluminum electrodes that we buy. So that's one of those things that if a team tackles it, everybody will learn from it. Like maybe the coating on it will not allow us to use it. Maybe you have to get around the inner coating in a aluminum can. Maybe you can actually cut it up and adjust it so that the actual surface area of the electrode is bigger and has more potential to do more coagulation more efficiently. There's a lot that you can do with that one. Another one is can we make a 3D printed filter, which was a very interesting one that happened actually in Houston at the hackathon with Ravi. Some students actually came up with let's see if there's a picture there. So some students actually started the very first prototype of creating this filter with the idea of it being able to fit in these mason jar rings, and then we can stop using these coffee filters. We like these challenges because they help the kit stay lean and economical and be able to use less waste. A 3D printed filter like that could be reused, washed out. Currently the first one that we tried was a little too porous and stuff got through it, but it was just the first step into developing one. So what happens is you share your findings, you share your files, and if you can't take it so far, you share everything that you did, tell that story, and then maybe another student team will pick up the baton and take it further. So that's how we sort of operate these challenges. Is even if you don't complete it, share what you have because you're sort of moving the ball forward one way or another. Another one is adding sensors. So I mentioned sensors before. One student team really blew us away, and they added a laser sensor to the kit. I hope you can kind of see it there, but there's a laser going right through here in the center, and on the other side there is a sensor that kind of can take readings as the coagulator or the actual water gets clear. And then here they have an LCD readout, and they didn't have any help from us. They just went used the internet, used their own network of finding people at their school. I think they might have even participated in a makerspace, and so so that is another challenge that happened. So then lastly, after you've picked the challenge and you've worked on it, we are let's see. You have to share your results. That's the biggest part. Like, one of the winners, and I didn't even get to that yet, but we have winners at the end of each sort of school year, and a winner can get a 3D printer from us, depending on the type of challenge they took on and their results and what they did. But one team actually thought they hit a dead end. They used hydrogen. They wanted to capture the hydrogen. That's my baby Edie in the back. They captured the hydrogen and wanted to see if a hydrogen fuel cell could be used to actually take the energy and use some of the energy back into the system. And what they found was that the hydrogen was actually dirty hydrogen, or like it wasn't pure enough, so the hydrogen fuel cell would not work. And so they're like, we hit a dead end, we don't know what to do with this challenge, we might switch challenges. And I said, no, just share everything about it, and that's a learning experience, not just for yourselves, but for the rest of the community, so we can know whether, how to proceed with that, whether it is a dead end in fact, or if there's another way we can tackle that. But either way, you're sort of helping somebody else, go through all the trouble just to lead to that same result that y'all did. You're sort of helping them have some knowledge ahead of time, and they actually won by the concept that they did, and then taking what they thought was a negative into a positive. So let's talk about what the students might actually think. Here's a little bit of testimonials from them. Let's see. I don't think that's working.
We do this stuff with other students, and they fail and they realize, oh, I made a mistake, and they fix it. It's part of learning, and I think that's what I appreciate the most.
I feel like it should go everywhere, right? Because if you have something good, you don't want it to stay inside the same community, right?
And it can be used across the world to solve many different problems about water pollution, and I think it's a really good concept. So if they would make it bigger, or still experiment with it, it'd be very helpful to use in the world.
It was a really good experiment, really fun. It's a good way for them to learn how to safely clean water.
Cool, and if my school does it one year, I would definitely want to try to get in. So I think this program is really cool.
I like it because it's a real life situation.
I think it's really cool and interesting, and it could teach us a lot if we pay attention. How dirty we're making the world, like seeing how the water is that dirty.
I would say that this is a fun program because you're learning about like worldwide problems. Like you can fix those problems.
All right. So those were the days when we could actually do workshops with students out in the field. But how can we participate without a kit at home? So some of the challenges that we're doing from home are things like actually brainstorming ideas of what I can do with the equipment here. We have some concepts of like actually sketching out different ideas for the hardware, ideas or concepts of how to improve the kit. But also we are planning on having a guest speaker doing a session on how you can actually 3D design things online and help us in that way. Just all you would need is internet, a computer, a browser, and you can actually 3D design or contribute by adjusting some of the designs we already have to do with their students or kids if your parents at home. Okay, so that's enough of the slideshow. Let me go to the kit again. Let's see how it's doing. Okay. Alright, so you can kind of see up here a lot of the, let's see. See, it looks clearer now, even without the light. You can kind of see that some of the paint got coagulated and went to the top, and that happens because the hydrogen and oxygen bubbles actually make it lighter and have it go to the top. But over time, those will pop and break, and it'll get released, and everything tends to come to the bottom and settle at the bottom. And what's happening is it's denser and heavier than the actual water itself, and that makes it much easier to filter out. That's why we say it's smarter, not harder. You can take a filter that was, difficult to filter something out, or it wasn't able to capture it because it was too tiny, but now make the pollutants larger so that a simpler filter can do the same thing. So here's an example. Here's a bit of coagulated. I think this is like rusty water from maybe an HVAC system, and it. I carry this around in our bag sometimes, and it always stays settled. It's always separate from the water. You can shake it up, but over time, this is just always going to settle because it's now heavier than the water. So we're going to go ahead and switch to, we're going to finish this little run through. Let me just change my cameras. Alright. So, I'll take this guy out of the way. Take these wires out of the way. Alright. So, after you've let it run, we usually try to let it run for about 15 minutes. I should have set a timer. I did not do that. But we're going to go ahead and continue anyway. What you're going to want to do now is we're going to take an extra cup. We're going to pour it out into that. We're going to take some of these paper towels. I'm going to use one. I'm going to unplug the power source first. And then we're going to take these electrodes and the lid off and just have it sit here. That way, actually. And then pour all this back out. And you're going to see it just kind of looks dirty again, but that's just because we shook it all up and it's floating now. Then with either a paper towel, or I have these for our workshops, these little sponge things here, just to kind of clean out the inside to make this as clean as possible, so we don't have any of those like floaty paint things still in there when we pour it back through. Alright, that's pretty good. Okay, so take what we do now. This is where the coffee filter comes in, and this is where we use the lid again. We take the center part out, and we actually use this coffee filter in here, just like that. Right over the top. Just make sure there's no that there's every part of the coffee filter is going over the lip of the mason jar. Use this ring lid to secure it in there so it's not going anywhere, and then we start pouring this through. Now, depending on how long we left it coagulating, not much should go through. It should capture a lot of it. Yeah, and these this coffee filter can take a little bit of time, so it doesn't filter super fast. Alright, and there you have it. We're having some clear water come through. So what this did was made the acrylic paint, which was suspended in the water, was not, you can have it go right through the filter before, which I didn't do, which I should have done, but I actually forgot. What we do at the very beginning is we run it through the filter, so you can see that it doesn't capture anything. but the second time around it does capture it. So I'll be sure to do that next time we do this run-through workshop. So that is how the purification coagulator kit works in a nutshell. Here in a second, we're going to be getting to our special guests. First up is going to be Kristi Pierce. So if she's listening, let me give her a heads up. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay. Switch to webcam 2. Let's do this again, give you a little clear shot of the water. Okay, Kristi, not yet. I'll tell you here in a second when to start. Go ahead and switch cameras. Alright, there's that. Alright, so Kristi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let's get your screen loaded up. Give me 1 second. All right.
All right, let me see here. I seem to have lost my screen. Hold on 1 second. Bear with me. Okay, can you see my screen? All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, Ryan.
Yeah, can you see me? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
my name is Kristi Pierce, and I am the Water Conservation Education Coordinator for the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit today about connecting your story to the public using digital storytelling. Environmental topics can be kind of difficult for people to understand. And so these are some solutions that might be good, and I'll talk a little bit about subsidence too. So every place has a story, which often includes an untold socio ecological component. If people can understand how they impact their natural environment, they might be more inclined to implement not just conservation change, but also everyday change in their lives. The United States is very lucky. We have a tremendous amount of freshwater resources, and most of us don't think about where our water comes from or even how we get it, especially when it comes to our invisible water resources that we know as groundwater. So groundwater lies in the cracks and crevices and many layers of silt, sand, and gravel and clay, better known as aquifers. Aquifers are not an underground lake like a lot of people think they are. They're just many, many layers. If you think of layers of a cake, and they're all just different types of geology. So we pump that water that's in those different crevices, and when it's not given ample time to recharge, the soil in our area is very unique. It can actually compact together, and it can begin to sink or subside. So the Houston area was the first place actually in the United States where subsidence was studied. As you can see from this footage, This shows Katy, Texas, and you can see there's some flooding there. I just took that footage not that long ago. And so it's not just coastal areas that experience subsidence, it's also areas out in the rural areas. So because of our flat and featureless topography, subsidence definitely is not unnoticed. That sinking of the land increases our chances of flooding and can also cause infrastructure damage. The next slide I've got shows you the Red Bluff Road Bridge down in Pasadena. And you can see in 1945, from that aerial photography, it was almost just a tiny creek. And then if you look at the footage of today, you can see it's got a lake. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a picture of two bridges, and that's because the first bridge was damaged from infrastructure damage due to subsidence, roughly 6 feet of subsidence. So you can imagine somebody who's 6 feet tall, the land sunk that much. If you look in the lower left-hand picture, you'll see the two bridges, and one is halfway gone because it's submerged. It fell into the water. So there's an entire subdivision known as Brownwood, and Brownwood used to be home to over 1,500 residents. It's right across the bay from the San Jacinto Monument, and that particular subdivision sunk between 6 and 10 feet and is now the Baytown Nature Center. As you go through the Baytown Nature Center, you'll see old foundations and remnants of swimming pools, and that was from just pumping too much too fast, and the aquifer did not have time to recharge. So this picture has a collage of different areas where we've had subsidence. You can see San Jacinto Monument, 10 feet of subsidence. The center picture on the top is the Baytown Nature Center I just talked about, which was Brownwood. Then top right, Jersey Village. We've got 6 feet of subsidence there. They have a lot of flooding in that area. Used to be, and then bottom left, we've got the Katy Prairie. So even an area that's as pristine as that still has subsidence. Bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the Pleasure Pier in the background, 1 foot of subsidence at down in Galveston. So some of these areas, like out in Katy and Jersey Village, those were historically rice fields, which obviously they pumped a lot of groundwater to keep those rice fields growing. And even after those fields went away, 20, 25 years ago, the subsidence rates still continue over time. It's not like it's not like a car that just puts on the brakes and stops once you stop pumping water. That subsidence still occurs. So a lot of people haven't heard of our office. We're a state agency, and we were formed in 1975 to regulate the withdrawal of groundwater. A lot of people don't know, but groundwater accounts for 60% of all the water used in Texas. The other 40% is going to come from your surface water you can see, lakes, rivers, streams. Our office has been successful in regulating subsidence in near the coast. Due to the regulation of groundwater withdrawal, subsidence has pretty much halted near the coast, which is good news. But out in the rural areas, we're still seeing subsidence because our regulations aren't quite as tight. So as the second most populous state in the country, Texas has a large demand for water, and we have a semi-arid climate that's prone to droughts, and we have extreme rain events, as everybody's seen in the last couple years. So efficient water management and water conservation measures must be implemented so we can meet the current and future water demands. Projects like these with this electro-coagulation inspire students to create action-oriented projects and solutions. I see these kits as giving kids an opportunity to learn how to do some unique conservation methods, especially in the area of reclaimed water. So if you can separate out all those contaminants, that water can be used for a lot of different things. Rainwater harvesting, if those rain barrels could be cleaned in some way, that water would have a lot more uses than just on your plants. So I was going to show, if I can switch my slide here, a unique way that you can communicate your story, and that kids can communicate kind of their projects through using a software called ArcGIS Story Map. So let me see if I can find my browser on here. Do not see it. I think I have too many windows open. Let me see. Well, I'm not seeing my actual browser.
Okay.
See if that'll work. I don't
Let's
think
see.
that's it.
Is your is this text here?
Anyways, you can look up the ArcGIS story maps a little bit more on y'all. Oh, here we go. Sorry. So this is Earth Challenge 2020. This isn't one I created. It's one by Esri, but in honor of Earth Day coming up, this is a good one to look at. So Story Map tells a story in a text format, but it's also immersive. So you're not only going to get pictures, you can embed videos. You can also put in storylines, graphics, and my favorite part is the way that you can integrate maps. So research tells us that if you can do some kind of spatial awareness activities with kids and adults too, they tend to get a little bit more enhanced sense of place, and they want to jump in and contribute a little bit more. If you can see some of the needs in your own backyard, you might just care a little bit more. So ArcGIS Story Map has some free components to it, and it's a good alternative to use over PowerPoint. The only disadvantage I see is that you have to have a clicker if you're going to do a presentation that has a scrolling device on it. So anyways, that's pretty much all I've got, Ryan. If anybody's got any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Kristi, so we do have one question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we do have one question that is, does prairie restoration help slow down subsidence?
Well, you got to think of it in terms of kind of from the bottom up rather than from the top down. So if you're withdrawing water from the ground, you're still going to have subsidence and compaction, because this is occurring very, very deep underground. It's not at the surface. So while prairie restoration helps with flood mitigation, it's not going to slow subsidence rates. It might trap more water in the top and allow it to seep down into the aquifer. But it depends on where those clay layers are that almost act like a piece of plastic. Not everywhere has a recharge zone. So there's some areas where the aquifer is not going to recharge as quickly as others, if at all, because of the geology. So to answer that question, prairie restoration, it never hurts to have prairie restoration, but slowing rate of subsidence, unless it's directly over a recharge zone, which the closest one to the Houston area is going to follow kind of the Brazos and go up kind of in out towards Brenham in that area. That's so the answer's no, really.
Well, thank you for answering that, and thank you for everything that you've shared today. Now my camera is live from my phone.
Sure.
See. Still getting used to all the kinks and things of switching around cameras. But Kristi, thank you so much for participating today. And if you have more information, I'm going to see if I can put some links up in our description. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we've got a lot of educator resources on our YouTube channel, HG Subsidence, as well as our website.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much for being our special guest on our first live stream episode.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Okay. So, let's see. Now I want to also introduce Ravi. Ravi Brahmbhatt also from Houston. He is he's the director of student the director of student innovation and entrepreneurship at Houston Community College. And just this week, I was really, looking at LinkedIn and social media, and he's been posting a lot about what they're doing and what some sort of citizen scientists are doing in their area to help with the COVID problem going on right now. I know a lot of people feel helpless, and even myself, for this stream, it's like I've been debating, like, what can I do for this, and part of it is like, should I keep focusing full throttle with the water purification kit, or should I really try to see what I can do with activating sort of students and educators and parents to maybe participate. But one of the things that I've also found is that there's a lot of people trying that, and then there's a lot of sort of dead ends happening. I've seen people creating masks at home and then taking them to hospitals, and they just weren't the type needed. So I think I'm taking a very cautious approach, and I am going to, whenever possible, share at the end of some of our live streams some things that are worthwhile that people are doing, that may or may not be something that you can do at home, but at least you can maybe help those people out and hear them out and see what they're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up, let's see, Ravi, let's get you on the screen here. Speaker view. Let's see, Ravi. Spotlight. There you are. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to switch. All right. Let's see. Ravi, welcome.
Thanks, Ryan. See where I am? Can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Yeah. What a lovely place that you're joining us from.
I'm telling you, it's very fitting with the whole water. I mean, this is what I need.
Please share with the audience what y'all been working on over there.
So Ryan, as a community in the Houston area, and there are lots of efforts being happened, right? The average homeowner or the household member or the individual member is trying to. They're watching the news. They're getting scared. They're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? The partner, the schools, the maker spaces, all of them are actually doing something about it, and they're trying to get the word out so that, hey, you can bring stuff to us, but we have to do X, Y, and Z. So they're trying to get the information out to people who want to do something, and then ultimately the goal is, you have the homeowners or people in their homes that can do something about this, then pass it on to a collection site or a collection group, and then from there get it sanitized, get it worked, perfect it, and then pass it on to the healthcare group that can actually use it. So there are lots of things happening from that angle, but what I want to do is I want to highlight one that I think is really for everybody in your network and in the US and then even globally. So a website that I like that we've been using, and I'm going to go ahead and share.
if you allow me, Ryan, I will share a browser screen here. And uh, before I do that, I want to make sure I'm on the right website. Okay, so let's go ahead and share this. All right, so I'm sharing this this website, getusppe.org. Here, this is a global kind of a website available for the world. Basically, PPE stands for personal protection equipment, and this is really, the mask, the shields to protect this transparent and see-through shields to protect the healthcare workers, first responders like police officers, security guards, right? And then also, if you start thinking about it, there's also textile makers, right? Those who can sew masks at home using cotton and different types of fabrics. So this is a great website. I would encourage kids at home. If you're, schools are out. You need something cool to do. Take your mind off the negativity or the panic in the news. Right? If you watch it too long, you can't help it. Human nature, you'll start panicking too. Watch news in blocks. Just go for the important information and then go do something else. This is a great activity, Ryan, that I think I want to share with your network. Start off by, if you know a doctor or a healthcare professional who is in dire need, have them go to this website and they can type in I need PPE, right? They can go ahead and list the business in which they want people to drop things off. They can have a box outside the business, and people can just drop them off during hours that they specify. And if the need is bad enough, the doctors and the private clinics, they can wash it, sanitize it, or you do that, and submit it to the folks that are needing PPE. If you're in a position, if you've got a 3D printer at home, you've got a sewing machine at home, or maybe you have other tools at home already, and you don't have to go running around to hunt for these tools. Don't go buying all the spool off of the local computer store for 3D printing. There are people who are also trying to buy, who already may have established a proper channel. But if you already have stuff, then you can go to and click on I have PPE, right? So that way you can submit to the local folks, and then there's a map that comes up. I've reduced the size of the screen, so it's showing as a responsive view. But if you were to go this on your desktops, you would see the map pop up. And then these are all the things that are needed. Everything from homemade hand sanitizers, right? Lots of people can make these things at home. There are tips, tools, YouTube videos, lots and lots of tutorials to be able to make these things. And you want to make sure that you do the best you can. Try making some 1 or 2 prototypes, and really get good at it. Make sure that it fits the requirements of the healthcare professionals that have put the exact dimensions of what they need and how they need it. So when you click on things like, for example, surgical mask, it will allow you to see instructions. So I'm just going to jump to make PPE and jump over to step 3 to let you guys kind of see some of the things. So surgical mask, for example, if you go there, then down here is a bunch of designs. There's links to how that's made, how is it sewed. There's these projects, right? And you can download the PDF. You can share this with other folks. Lots of projects that are just coming across. So that's step 1. For the individual or the homeowner or what have you that have some of these tools already at home, to learn how to do this, educate themselves, make them, and then they want to pass it on to an institution in the Houston area. For us, it's Houston Community College, right? What we're doing is, if you, I'm just gonna Google this because I didn't preload the website. Chronicle. But I'm sure if you look around, LinkedIn and other sources of Facebook, you're going to find how schools like HCC and Harmony, Lone Star, Sanjak, everybody is making use of those maker spaces that they have. HCC has one of the largest amounts of 3D printers in the region. So, I mean, they are repurposing them and using them to make, those shields and other things that we need. We're not waiting for suppliers to send it to Houston or, Sugarland or Fort Bend, because we know the whole world is asking for this. The whole world is, bombarding the suppliers, and we get that, right? So we're makers. We're a nation of makers. So we're just going to make it ourselves, right? And try our best. I mean, whatever is needed, we're going. We're doing this stuff with as best as we can, but we're not stopping. And we partnered with a group called TXRX that's a nonprofit makerspace group, and we're basically making shields and masks and then passing it on to the TXRX group, who's going and doing sanitization and distributing it to our Texas Medical Center, right? So that's, from the home to the school to, or some sort of a collection center to now the healthcare, right? So this is a model that I think anyone in the country can adopt, right? Resources are there for you to learn, right? Find a credible source in your community that has the ability to accept and sanitize and make sure that they have contacts directly with the healthcare, or see if there's a local healthcare person who has signed up, and go ahead and go directly to them, right? Once you've made something of value, go ahead and go directly there. And the third thing I want to share, Ryan, is this is how we're using, Facebook, right? So as a school, we've established a little group called Eagle to Eagle for our alumni base. And what's happening here is only HCC faculty, staff, or students are validated into this group. And we're basically saying, if we're students, students can help students, right? If you're faculty, faculty can help faculty, right? If you're administrator can help administrator. We have other tools for, we're using Microsoft Teams and everything else. But if we need to answer massive amount of people, and we're giving repetitive information, look at this one. We're a support community. Someone says it's hard for me to focus. Well, hey, a bunch of advice and a bunch of we're here for you, kind of a community response that's just for the. So if you are not able to make and do this, well, go and help others in these types of support groups on Facebook, right? Or even on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So I've got another group set up with WhatsApp, right? So the whole key for me, Ryan, is I know we're social distancing, right? But we're not emotionally distancing from our community. We need to continue to be positive. We need to continue to share our skills that we have, or develop the skills that we have, and then continue to fight this. This is going to go. We're going to overcome it as a country and as a human race, I guess, right? But it will only happen if we stay positive, we stay connected, and we have some goals, such as getting rid of this as quick as possible without overwhelming our healthcare system. So I know this is a little different, but thanks for letting me share what we're doing out here in Houston.
Yeah,
this is helpful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, a spotlight again. Ravi, thank you so much. This information was kind of exactly what I was looking for, and thank you for sharing, because it's like there's so much information out there that you don't know.
It's like there's so much information out there, and you just don't know how to organize what to pay attention to and what not to. So I feel like this website does a really good job, it seems, to just organize how you can help, who needs it in your area. That's great. So we're going to be sharing this with our in our description, and I appreciate you so much sharing what you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing. thank you so much for being our guest on our first episode. Thank you so much, Ravi.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Thanks. This is getting to the end of this workshop / Q&A live stream. We're working out a lot of kinks. That was very interesting info from Ravi, and we're going to be sharing that info. And just keep an eye on that, because if that's something that y'all want to do with your students and you want to be active in that way, please check out those links. Let's see. So, sort of some departing news. I want to say we're going to do a giveaway. So if anybody wants a kit, do hashtag make water in the chat window right now. There's a delay, so I'll come back and look at it. We don't have a lot of views at the moment, so there's a small pool of people of somebody that can win. But this is, just the beginning of our live stream. We'll see where it goes. So let's see. We are going to also have a survey in the notes. Please share that survey if you watch this now, if you watch this afterwards. We want to see what we can do with our stream to better, match what the parents, educators, and students are sort of looking for out there. Let's see. Let us know. Let's see. It has things like, what day of the week might work out best. Does this platform of YouTube actually work out best for you? Let us know. That survey link is in the show notes. So we are a nonprofit. We are trying to make it so that kits can be available to anybody that wants to participate through sponsors and donors. So please consider, maybe being a patron on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. We also sometimes do giveaways through the patrons that are on there. Consider buying a kit on our website, makewater.org, and just share what we're doing. If maybe you mention this to a local water or energy utility, maybe they'll help out with your student team if they want to participate and get a kit. So let's see, some departing content. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I am gonna go ahead and do the Make Water giveaway. I am seeing that there are. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Marcos. Marcos, you're gonna get a kit. You should go ahead and send an email or message me info@makewater.org. And we'll get your details right there. Congratulations, we'll send you a kit. So with everything going on, with what Ravi said and everybody social distancing, I just want to have some departing content as a last bit of something that y'all can see before you leave from somebody who knows what isolation really is. But for me, thank you so much for participating in our first live stream. I look forward to the next one. We're probably going to do it in about 2 weeks to this day, and hopefully have a little more interactivity with y'all between each one. So thank y'all so much, and take care. Here's your departing content.
Chris Hadfield, I've spent a little time self-isolating on board a spaceship. How are you doing with self-isolation? It's an extremely dangerous environment up on board the space station, and yet we find a way to thrive and be productive that far away from our normal lives. We do it through 4 different things. Number 1, understand the actual risk. Don't just be afraid of things. Go to a credible source and find out what is truly the risk that you're facing right now. You, your family, your friends, the people that you care about. And then, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your objectives? What's your mission for right now? Make that clear for this afternoon, for this week, for the next month. What do you want to get done? Then look at your constraints. Who's telling you what you need to do? What financial resources do you have? What are your obligations? But once you understand the risk and your mission, your sense of purpose, and your obligations, then take action. Start doing things. They don't have to be the things that you always did before. Take care of family, start a new project, learn to play guitar, study another language, read a book, write, create. It's a chance to do something different that you've maybe not done before, and then repeat. And of course, if you think you've been exposed to COVID, then, you know, if you've gotten closer than a couple arms length to people, then self-isolate. And if you have any symptoms, you know, a sore throat or a fever or a cough, then consult a physician. But there's never been a better time to self-isolate. So many people have access to the internet that you have the entire written work of everything, all the body of knowledge right there at your fingertips. So take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your friends, take care of your spaceship. And I wish everybody happy landings.